Welcome to Unscrewed TV. I'm here with the premier pioneer of Marlborough New Zealand wine, Kevin Judd. Hi, Kevin.
Well, I'm not sure about the premiere, but
It is formerly of Cloudy Bay, but now with his own label, Greywacke. Do you want to tell everybody a bit about how you came to be in the business, who you work for, and kind of like where you're at now?
how I came to be in the business?
Yeah.
Well, I was brought up in Adelaide, South Australia, and I must admit I wasn't born under a grapevine or anything like that. I was brought up in Adelaide, and I was into sort of science and chemistry and things like that. And one of the options is for a career, and when you're in Adelaide, is to go to Roseworthy and learn winemaking. And it sounded like a good idea. Sounded like a interesting business. And
Did your parents drive you that way? And kind of like guide you to do winemaking?
my father was in an industry that made cardboard boxes for wine.
Right, okay.
And he drank a bit of wine at home, and he actually suggested, that pointed out that it was an option to me, and so I wasn't really a wine drinker when I started learning winemaking, but got the hang of it.
And then you came over here?
So initially I worked for a company called Chateau Ranella with a guy called Jeff Merrill in Adelaide, and then that was in 79, 80, 81. And then things changed a bit, and I wanted to. The company was bought by Hardy's actually, and my job description changed quite dramatically. So I got the idea of what they were saying. So I looked around, and there were a couple of jobs going in New Zealand at the time, and I applied for both of them and got the job at Sealax.
And from there...
And I was at Sealax 83, 84, and then because my wife and I had agreed that we'd come over to New Zealand for 3 years. That was the plan. A bit of experience with cool climate winemaking, and then go back to Adelaide. But in 1984, I met David Honan, who had he'd tasted a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc in Western Australia that he was given, and he was so inspired he travelled to New Zealand to see where this wine had come from. He had Cape Mantel, and he just won 2 Jimmy Watsons in a row. So he was, making fantastic red wine in Western Australia, but he aspired to make better whites, I suppose. And this Sauvignon Blanc that he tasted provoked him to cross the Tasman and have a look around.
And from there, Cloudy Bay was formed.
Yeah. Well, then he offered me the job to. Well, in fact, what he offered me was a position to make wine with him in New Zealand, which I accepted. But at that stage, we hadn't chosen Marlborough. He was still considering Hawke's Bay. So when I arrived down here, there was nothing really, a bit of land.
So there are a lot of similarities between climate of Hawke's Bay and Marlborough. What was the decision?
At that time, there were some pretty good Sauvignon Blancs being made in Hawke's Bay, and some good ones being made down here. The wines I'd made at Sealax, a lot of that came from Hawke's Bay. So it was at a time where Marlborough was really starting to shine through, but it hasn't. It still hadn't really established itself as the place for Sauvignon Blanc in New Zealand at that time.
So you joined Cloudy Bay. You found your plot down here in Marlborough. What jettisoned Cloudy Bay into kind of like the stratospheric kind of heights that we now know, kind of like with it dominating a lot of European markets? It's the flagship for a lot of the time for New Zealand wine.
I think we were in the right place at the right time. The company had very much a policy of making only the best that we could, and if it wasn't good enough, it went down the road in a truck. Quality was paramount. We had a pretty modern, attractive label, evocative name, and David had a very clear idea of how he wanted it marketed in terms of where it was sold and that sort of thing. But we didn't actually spend a lot of money on advertising or anything like that. It was actually picked up really favourably by the English media. It had some fantastic reviews in the early days, and we never seemed to be able to make enough of the stuff because the market seemed to grow and expand, faster than we were increasing production.
So from there, we kind of fast forward a few years to then you creating your own label. What was the catalyst for that?
Oh, 25 years, turning 50. Time to do something else. Had pretty good innings. And I mean, it was a tough decision. It was a hard act to follow, leaving Cloudy Bay.
Yep.
Very tough, actually. No, it was just time to do something else. And
So rather in your midlife crisis, rather than get a big flash sports car, you go and create your own wine label. And also a difficult time for the wine industry as well.
Right, smack in the middle of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Straight after the '08 vintage, which was the turning point really for Marlborough.
Yeah.
Up until that point, it had always been a matter of where we're going to get more grapes from, and then it suddenly was, oh shit, there's too many.
Yeah. And so when we go to Greywacke, so what's the kind of ethos behind Greywacke? Have you taken the same principles from your days at Cloudy Bay to this?
Sure, in terms of quality.
Yep.
There's only one quality, and that's as good as you can do. And I just make a single layer of wines, which I guess is similar.
Yep.
No second labels or anything. I make 7 different varieties, 2 Sauvignon Blancs, and a Pinot. I guess they're the core of the range.
What's the most challenging wine to make for you in your range?
Probably Pinot Noir.
What's the most enjoyable? Also
Well,
Pinot?
it's all enjoyable. I particularly like Chardonnay.
Okay.